Now, the rest of the story.
Last minute panic decisions. I'm down at the valley looking at potential, at the very real chances of coming down and cutting tomorrow. And by very real, I mean, well, the tractors are already ready, hooked up, sharpened, greased, fueled, and ready to go. The rain that we had, I'm actually kicking up dust there. The rain that we had was essentially a dusting. We all together, I don't think we hit an inch. We got really close. We got 9/10. So if you want to call it an inch, you could. And I didn't come down and throw any of the extra goodies on this third cut regrowth. I mean, saved myself, what's the math? $8,000. And going through the trouble of coming down and making it again is still worth it. I mean, it's not going to be top tier, awesome, beautiful stuff. I mean, the foxtail really came in heavy on the bench ground. But down at the valley, you can see very, very, very prominent where the fence line was. I mean, even this stuff, it seems like that we've just been taking everything off of it and it's just really cut back. But and the fence line, I wish everything looked like this. This, up until third cutting last year, from here all the way over to where my four-wheeler is, we didn't make that until, for the first time, until third cut last year. And then I've actually been able to sneak through and get it made the first two cuttings of the year. And as far as what I think this stuff is going to yield, I have no idea. Something is better than 100. A little bit of something's better than 100% of nothing. And I don't even know what to hope and expect for this place to yield. All I know is that there's material here. Granted, it's not going to be first cut. You got to forget about first cut when you're making third cut for the year. Even though I didn't put all the extra fun stuff on it, I think I saved myself a little bit of cash by not doing it. Let the grass, everything that's here. I don't want to use the phrase mine the soil, but I'm letting the grass pretty much go through and pull out of the ground that's there. And I feel that, especially after talking to Ryan, we didn't leave enough stubble after first cut, or with first cuts. We took first cut off and we mowed it down way too close to the ground, so we didn't leave as much stubble as I typically would. That, I feel, burned us for second cut because it set that plant back that much farther, because normally I leave a fair amount of stubble after first cut, and I wholeheartedly believe that that's what set me back down here. If we would have left that stubble, the plant wouldn't have had to regrow as much as it had to really get going, plus the amount of time I gave it to come back, and it just really set us back. And with third cut not getting the nitrogen and the foliar that the second growth did, I feel like the second growth really didn't get a chance to really pull out any of those nutrients, the nitrogen that I put down. So from a producer perspective, I'm more on the fence of, instead of putting more money down, why don't you use up the money that's probably already still there. So I honestly wholeheartedly believe that my second cut didn't utilize as much of the inputs that I put down after first cut. We do have some broadleaves, not really worried about it. Where I'm currently sitting right now is, yeah, everything I'm making for third cut is pretty well marked for going down the road. With the weather they're calling for, 70s and 80s, high 70s, low 80s for the next 4 or 5 days, chance of rain on Saturday night, Sunday, Tuesday, and then following that, next week, it's coming through with another mini dry spell, as in like 5 or 6 days. But then the temperature trend for the weather is clearly trending down for the 10-day, because then once you get through this next dry spell, we don't know how much rain we're going to get, which we were supposed to get upwards 2 to 3 inches, and the ground, this is why I bring my four-wheeler down here, so I can actually go across and look at everything. The fact that there's no water here, this is a dedicated dry spot or wet spot, lowland swamp area. This doesn't have any water standing on it. This is telling me that the moisture levels are below where they need to be, so I can get down here and make it, because my intentions are I'm making 100% of everything that I can get the motor across. So once again, let me skip ahead in the video a little bit here. I got to run around and check everything else, and I'll give you a little bit of an update here. Well, I'm going to try to drive and talk over the four-wheeler, but this is the lower end of the lower bottom, and about the best I can say is it's just variable down here. And some of this stuff is ankle high, and then there's other areas of it that's about up to my knees. And my buddy just called me, and his opinions are pretty well aligned with mine. As we had moisture, it's just we had a lot of it in a very narrow amount of time, because yes, we had that flooding down here where all the low spots were flooded or had water setting up until about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And the other parts of the field that don't typically have a lot of water standing are lighter. But then any of the areas that were close to those areas with standing water, the grass is actually a little bit heavier. So it might be more of a story of it's not just the fact that I didn't put the extra inputs in, but it might actually come down to a lack of moisture. And as far as what this whole thing could yield down here, there's about 120 acres. I'd say let's go with 100 bales and be impressed with anything north of that. I mean, you can definitely feel it's fall. I mean, you get down to mid-September, which we're not quite mid-September yet, but here once again, I mean, you get in the taller material, but then you get about from here, it's actually really nice down through here, but then you get 2/3 of the way. So you get the bottom third, the middle third, and the upper third of the lower bottom. That middle third is light. That's about the lack of moisture is about the only thing that really makes any sense. So there's parts of the field that are going to be fun to cut, and there's going to be other parts of the field you're going to wonder why you're even cutting it. And that's probably the most mind-numbing part of it, because we're going to windrow it. We have to windrow it for the parts where the ground really isn't exposed, to give it 24 hours or so to dry out, and then I'll come back through and I'll TED the works out. If it's not super duper heavy, I can drive a little faster and I can get it covered in a shorter amount of time. That's just pretty much the long and short of it. My friend's trying to decide if he should cut too, and on his circumstances, he actually can't start cutting as early, like tomorrow morning, like we can. He's looking like tomorrow afternoon, late, and then you lose the potential rest of the day of the first stuff that you cut to dry. So like the actual bottom down here will be the first stuff we cut, because it's the best material, it's the heaviest material. So this is the stuff that'll get cut first, so it'll be able to dry out starting the rest of the day tomorrow afternoon. And then the lighter stuff up on the hills will be the last stuff we cut, and it'll be the last stuff we bale. And we're just going to cut it and take what we can get off of it, because I don't think leaving this stuff sit for another week or two is really going to do me any good, because it's already been 7 weeks. Not as long as I'd like, but I'm standing by my original statement of the next chance I have of decent dry weather, I'm going to get this made, and that's what we're going to do, because I'm not guaranteed any more drying weather between now and harvest, and I really don't want to run the risk of having to come down here and make hay when we should be cutting beans. Did it last year and I didn't enjoy it. So that's where we stand, guys. Your next video should be us cutting hay. Until next time, take care, take it easy, keep in touch. Talk to you soon.